Alright, so what I did was I typed in Google Spektrum SPM files. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to this one right here that says Spektrum preset model files for DX Gen 2 transmitters. I'm using a Spektrum Dx8. So this is going to give me the files for the timber. What you're going to do is click here, find DX Gen 2 preset models, and then it's going to show you a bunch of different ones. You're going to click Eflite, and then you're going to look for the timber night. And then this is the one I'm going to download. Eflite Night Timber X Bind and Fly Advanced Setup. The advanced setup is so that you could have full span ailerons and still have flaps as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here, open up my files. I'm going to go to Downloads, Night Timber X. I've already put an SD card into the computer. I'm going to send it to that USB drive. Now I'm just going to double check that it's there in Night Timber X. So now we can eject it. And this is what I'm going to stick into my Dx8. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this SD card into the Dx8. I believe you can hold down the scroll wheel, turn it on, and it goes into settings. So now what we're going to do down here is we're going to go to transfer SD card. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to import model, the Night Timber X Advanced. We're going to import it. So now we have the Night Timber X Advanced. So what I noticed about it is that you have full span flaps, full span ailerons. So now that even though you have full span ailerons, when you put the flaps down, look at how far the flaps go. These two right here. This is the problem that I was having. So you got 100% throws each way. You put the flaps in, now you have 150% throws each way. Full flaps, 100% flaps. Now you got full throws, you see? So that's on the advanced. That's the SPM file that you download off the website for the Night Timber X Advanced. What I did was I have my own Night Timber X that I set up a little differently.
Throttle cut, flaps up, low rates, AS3X mode. Forward.
So now what happens with mine,
3D rates. Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps. Flaps up.
So I set mine up to where flaps are up, I have full span ailerons. As soon as flaps go down, I have regular ailerons.
Landing flaps.
So therefore I'm not overthrowing the servos
Flaps up.
by doing too much percentages of a throw. So now what I did to accomplish this is I went to mixing and I set it up as per the manual. The only difference is aileron to gear and aileron to flap mixes I assign to a switch D, which is my flaps. So when my flaps come in, it goes back to regular ailerons. Then I get full span ailerons when my flaps are up. If you go in here and you look at them, I've changed the rate to get the same amount of throw on each one to get the throws where I want them to be. And that's how I keep from overthrowing the servo and having problems with my servos burning up because they're binding or they're doing way too much throw. Alright, so I'm running these Zippy Compact 3700 milliamp 3S. They're a little bigger than recommended, but I'm running them all the way back inside the battery tray. And I'm also running the heavier spar in the tail to help with the balance. The balance is pretty good where it's at. It checks out, it's within range. And in the future I'm going to get some 4S batteries, some lighter ones that I can move around to get more power and get a little bit better of a weight and balance. But to start out, these batteries fit fine. These batteries will give me a 10 to 15 minute flight time on one of them, depending on how I fly. And I like them a lot. Alright, so now you can see how I set up my full span ailerons. I have full span ailerons all the time. Once I put my flaps in, now I have regular ailerons. Full flaps, regular ailerons. If you notice, when I go full aileron,
Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps. Takeoff flaps. Flaps up. Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps. Takeoff flaps. Flaps up.
I have no problem now with my servos trying to overdraw and overthrow and create problems where they might burn up and give me problems. This is something that you guys need to worry about so that you don't have a servo that freezes up in flight or burns out or gives you a problem that brings the plane down.
Motor on.
This plane also has reverse. It comes from factory already with the settings inside the ESC where you can get reverse from it. And it spins one way. And those already come set up like that. So now another thing I want to go over is Avian Program. This is how you can you can program the ESC through the Spektrum radio itself as opposed to having to plug into it with a computer or an app. I went to the local hobby store. They let me borrow the Spektrum servo programmer. I was able to update the firmware on the receiver of the airplane because it doesn't come with the latest firmware to be able to do this. Upgrade the firmware on the transmitter, upgrade the firmware on the receiver, and then you can go in to set your program, to program your settings on your ESC. So you just follow the steps. Alright, so the Avian program's only gonna work in the first couple seconds of plugging the airplane in. So you want to plug the airplane in, let it initialize, and now you're going to follow the instructions. You want to make sure your full rates. It's going to go low throttle, up elevator, left aileron. Then it changes to right aileron. Now we're into the settings themselves. So what happens is you move up and down With the elevator, you got flight mode, fixed wing, brake type, reverse, brake force, 0, cutoff type, LiPo cells, cutoff voltage, BEC voltage, startup time, timing, motor rotate, active freewheel, governor gain, arming time, restart acceleration, thrust reversing, exit with save. So what you're going to do is you're going to now go to the right and it saves. And you can go in there, read up on those settings, and you can change any of those settings from the transmitter itself, as opposed to having to go into a phone app or do a laptop computer or something like that. This makes it real nice. And then if you see some of these other screens, it has all the telemetry. Shows me my battery voltage, temperatures, RPMs, all kinds of stuff. That I love it. It's awesome. I got my telemetry that tells me about my signals and everything. I'm real happy with it. It's just something you have to do to make sure you get this plane set up like that. It doesn't come with the firmware like you need for the transmitter or the receiver from factory, but you can very easily do it with the servo programmer. Just download the firmware from the website and update your transmitter and your receiver, and you'll have some extra options for your Night Timber X that doesn't come out of the box.